See, there are lots of stories to be told. How I'm here, how do I paint here, how do I, you know. Storage is a big problem because I paint a lot. So sometimes I say I should stop painting. We've got to get these things out into the world.
Well, when I was a little girl, I used to draw. I used to draw, and I had a good, wonderful teacher because she let you do anything. Then I went to high school, and I thought, oh, I'll do art because that'll be nice and easy. And they sent us into the garden and suggested that we draw flowers. And I was so useless. I said, forget this art thing. I'm never going to become an artist. And that was the end of art. Then when I think it was in England, I sort of dabbled a little bit, and one of the professors said, oh, this is wonderful. We'll use this as a prompt for oral speaking. And these were sort of things I just did on the floor. Then I sort of landed up in Israel, and that's really where the art happened. And how I came to art, now I really know the answer. I had a boyfriend. And that boyfriend went to the army. And he wanted to keep me kind of out of any trouble, you know, like other boyfriends. And his father had one of the most famous art supply stores. So he gifted me a sketchbook and some Pelican watercolor pens. Well, I don't know anything about art, but that's how I started. And I guess it kept me out of trouble to a degree. But I think my luck was that I always had boyfriends who supplied me with supplies. In Jerusalem, I worked doing proofreading. These were translations from Russian into English. And I didn't know anything about proofreading, but I was working in the theater. When you work in the theater, you need another job. So I would do that, but you know, I think that when you first asked me that question, I was going to say I probably started painting out of boredom. And then I think I felt embarrassed by that answer and I censored it. So here I'm going to give you that answer. When I couldn't stand doing this proofreading, so I would do my quota as quickly as possible, and then I would doodle. And I would doodle and daydream and doodle. And somebody from the graphics department came over. This was a big translation company, and said, oh, this is great. She kind of did a frame around this thing, and I continued to doodle. And then I had a wonderful boyfriend there who would also supply me with reams of paper. And I never worried about, oh God, how much is this going to cost, what about this and that. And that's kind of how I started. I would just paint and draw and throw it all over the show and paint and draw. And I don't know what I was doing, but I was having fun. That's how I began. That's really how I began. Works are like children. So it's true, you might have a favorite every now and then. But I think what really excites me is the continual unfolding. That's what it is. I don't really know what's going to happen, but as I have, you know, years have gone by, and then I can look back and see what has transpired, and I can see that from my beginnings, I started off with images, like, you know, my favorite images would be draw a little tree, draw a little house, draw the moon, the fish. These would be my friends. I'd love these images. And they really translated into like little fairy tales into the drawings and the paintings that became. From these images, I eventually, and I love these images, because you asked me what was my favorite, so it's as if I can't say a favorite, because each time would become a favorite, because there was always a sense of wonder. Oh my gosh, what is this? Isn't this fun? Isn't this great? Or whatever. As time went on, and as I continued to paint, and I realized that I was painting in series. What does that mean? A few of the same, more of the same, and so there would be series of works. And I think the first time I paid attention to that was when I'd had an exhibition in Jerusalem at the Nora Gallery. And she was a very famous person who had known people like Sonia and Robert Delaunay in Paris. She was originally from Russia, and she landed up in Israel, and she opened perhaps one of the first galleries ever there. And I was privileged to show there. And one of the pieces was a pen and ink work. And that was the piece used for the invitation, in fact. After that exhibition, I said to myself, what happens if I only use pen and ink? What happens if I limit myself? And no color, because you know color seduces. So I set about creating a new series, which I didn't realize was a new series, but I call them paintings, but they're really drawings. And it's just pen and ink, pen and ink. And nobody saw them. I would just draw them. People would come over, they said, oh, you're not painting? Oh, boy, I was. And so I created this series even during the Yom Kippur War, 1972, so that I can identify that. And it would be my wish that that body of work would be studied and written about, because it touches a lot of what was going on in Israel at that time, and the history of that country, and my own history. I want to say that I'm in wonder, I'm amazed at that work. I love that work. It's kind of hidden. I don't show it easily. Okay, but I did show it in Belgium, and it was very well received. And I showed it at one point here in America. But after I came to live in America, slowly my work evolved, and images slowly gave way to more abstract and more abstract, although even when I had the images, there was always elements of abstract that was beginning to show up. This is from the Gold series, which is a whole thing on itself. And then over here you've got works from the, it's called 40 paintings. So that there were like a series called the 40 painting series. And this is from those paintings. And this is a transitional piece called Confiance des Origines, because everything has a title. And these two are from 9 diptychs. Diptychs, you probably know, are 2 things that come together. So there's like 2 huge pieces of paper. And these are works on gouache on paper, and this is works on acrylic. Wonder. I could really talk about each different series. Piano series, kettle series, the black and white series, which I call now the Jerusalem series, and I recently completed a series which I called Return to Passion. About 48 small pieces, 8 by 10, and I was inspired to create that body of work because I was invited to participate in an exhibition at the Santa Monica Museum, which was called Incognito, and they had all kinds of important artists, I'm sure, people, and they gave us the format, the 8 by 10, and we were supposed to paint a painting or do a work on that format. And then this was going to be a fundraiser. People would come in, not know whose work was whose, select a painting, and only afterwards find out who the artist was. Well, I thought, what, paint one painting on this piece of paper that they gave me? I thought that was too dangerous, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to order, and I had these wonderful 8-ply rag board pieces cut up for me, and I had a wonderful time. I actually moved into the living room, converted the whole thing into a studio, so if you ever came to visit me, you'd have to walk in and you'd see, you know, that's what you walk into. They're all different. So you just got to see what happens with the light on this.
Zoom it out.
Okay. Anyway. Okay. It would be very wonderful to be remembered. I think that just that would be wonderful. And I think that perhaps there are a couple of elements. One would be the work, independent of the artist. And the other part would be really how I came to paint. I've never studied. So this work, you know, is a study in studying by just painting and repainting and acquainting myself. You know, it's really the process. And I think that part is just a gift. It's wonderful. So how would I like to be remembered? I think in that light. Just I think if this story could be told, and if it would inspire people, I think that would really be something that I could say, you know, would be the answer to your question. Yeah. Really to sort of move other people.